Plan carried out most of its insurgents' activities into southwest Africa in the rainy season, between February and April. Heavy rain made military activities more difficult, provided more cover and concealment for the insurgents, and washed away tracks. Plan activities consisted mainly of blowing up road infrastructure, laying landmines, and ambushes. Oshakati, the base of one Special Service Battalion, an armoured reconnaissance unit, purpose-built in the northwest of the Oshakati compound. Tents with a few brick buildings, surrounded by bulldozed sand walls. At the one end, a 30-foot anti-aircraft tower with a 40mm anti-aircraft gun.
Area adjacent to Angola, called in Namibia, is called Uvambuland. So the border, the section against the border was divided into Sector 10 was in the far west, in the vicinity of Ruacana, and then you had 20 and Sector 30, which was completely east again there towards the previous one. Oshakati was like the headquarters for Sector 10. So there was a general in command, and it was quite a large support base. Now, Oshakati, as the crow flies, is probably about 50 kilometers from the actual border. Oshakati was, on occasion, it was bombarded with enemy who would carry mortars and stuff across the border and then walk close by and then fire a few mortars and then run like hell to get back over the border. Well, there's no physical fence in this today. There were tracks, and you knew that side of the track is Angola and this side Namibia. So in and around Sector 10, there were different tasks to be performed. And one of them was on the western side of Angola. I'm talking south now, near Ruacana, they've got that Kaluek water scheme. So the Kaluek water scheme was generating power, and that power was transferred through power lines down south to Windhoek and to Walvis Bay, etc. But that power line, it was a favorite target of the terrorists that came across, carry a bomb or two or explosives, and then they blow that power line. It was one thing that you had to do. You patrol that power line for a distance of, say, 200 kilometers. The other duty we had to perform, it was so-called on-clock-real, like a curfew at night. After 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, there's a curfew, and nobody is allowed to travel. So you'd send a patrol out, and if you see anybody or anything moving, you'd shoot. Another thing that we had to do is there was no school for the kids in Oshakati. The school was in Ondangwa, which was about 20 kilometers away. So those kids, every morning, the school bus had to be escorted from Oshakati to Ondangwa. Then you wait there, and in the afternoon, after the kids have gone to school, back in the bus, and you bring them back to Oshakati. In those days, the bus consisted of a biffle, a roof on top, a soldier with a rifle inside with the kids, and you'd escort those 4 or 5 or 6 buffles, you'd escort them all the way to Ondangwa. The kids would go to school. In the meantime, you would do maintenance on the armored cars or whatever you wanted to do. Other than that, it's just general patrols that you drive down. I had to do that school patrols for a few weeks. It's laborious because you drive there. First, the engineers have to sweep the road for landmines, and then you take the kids to school, and then you do nothing until 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or your OC would decide, now it's a good time, go and patrol. So while the kids are at school, you do something else, and then come back, and then 2 or 3 in the afternoon, you get the school kids, and you'll bring them back again. And occasionally, we'd go to the shooting range, just confirm our guns are working fine. Otherwise, you were confined to the perimeter of 10 Armoured Car Squadron, and there you do stalparade. In other words, you clean the armoured car. You unpack that armoured car, take all the ammunition about, all the coat. You clean that thing, you grease everything, you maintain everything. There's an inspection hold, you make sure everything is nice, and then you'll pack it back again and you're ready for your next patrol. Or the troops would just be off and they'd play volleyball, or tanning was like their favorite thing, because when you return from the border, you had to have a proper suntan on yourselves. If I close my eyes, I can just see all these sponge mattresses lying out there on that white sand, and there's Troopy with only his face covered with his hat, and they rub brake fluid. Because if you tan with brake fluid, you tan proper. They played volleyball. You had to do the normal maintenance tasks around the base. I know we started building a swimming pool and weapon inspections and things like that.
I've never heard of brake fluid being used as a tanning agent. That is incredible. Brake fluid's very good for peeling paint. So I guess if there's any paint or stuff that needs to come off, it would clear it very quickly.
It was a malaria-infested area. So every Friday, you had to drink your anti-malaria tablets. But somehow, somebody figured out that the malaria tablet, because it sits in your skin, it acts as a non-tanner. So if you drink the malaria pills, you won't tan. So you had to physically force that pill down the troopie's mouth and make sure he swallows it, because otherwise they get malaria. And based on when they came back, how brown they were, very few of them actually took those pills, if there was any truth in it.
Did any of them catch malaria, though? Did anyone actually get sick with malaria?
There might be one or two guys who caught malaria.
So you had the enemy to deal with, you had people who were setting mines and other sorts of booby traps, and then you had malaria, and then you had the additional sun for the skin cancer to get you later.
The sand is very white. You get out of that aeroplane on the runway, the glare from that white sand, it's unbelievable. It's like walking on a floodlight. And you get a mopani fly. It's a small little fly. Mopani is a type of tree you get, and they love to live amongst those. You get those mopani flies anywhere where there's moisture, on your eyes, in the corner of your mouth or inside your mouth. They are forever pestering you. I don't know if you know mutton cloth, but it's white cloth, and you use it to clean armored car or whatever the case might be. The troops used to cut them in length, so you put it over your face, and you just cut holes for your eyes and for your mouth. It was more a problem in Angola than what it was on the Namibian side. We did, I remember towards the end of our border stint, we were deployed south of Ruakana. And then my troop 5, was assigned to doing that power line patrol. And we did that for quite a few days. Because it's quite, the tracks underneath the power line is quite predominant. Captain Duplessis was our commander at the time, Herman Duplessis. He told us, you don't drive on those tracks, because there were landmines placed on those tracks. So the first day that you're there, you're sort of 50 meters that side, and the next day you're 50 meters that side of those tracks. And then the third day you're sort of 25 meters, and the fourth day that side, and eventually you start crossing the road, that tweespoor, more and more and more, and eventually you're just driving on the tweespoor. Hope you don't need a landmine. You just sit all day and shake in the armored car and get to a crest, and you check for the next 20 kilometers or as far as you can see with the binoculars. There's nothing, and then you drive and you get there and continue. And you get to I think the poles were numbered. I remember when we returned from patrolling that area, one of my armored cars, the one wheel, the right front wheel, the suspension of the eland is bolted onto the shape of the body of the eland is like a coffin. And then the hub bolts on, and it's got the arm that swings up and down where the wheel is attached. And that whole attachment broke off completely. We were stuck, and we had to get back to Ruakana. In Afrikaans we say hangsleep. Imagine yourself a vehicle without a wheel. You can't just tow it. You've got to sort of lift the front wheels off the ground and then tow it. And we managed to hang tow one armored car with another armored car because we didn't have anything else.